It's 11:14 on a Sunday night. You're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and you're doing the math again. Not because you're broke, far from it. You just opened your brokerage app and saw a number you once thought was a fantasy, $250,000. $250,000. For the first time in your life, you feel a sense of relief. You think, I've finally made it. The boulder is at the top of the hill. You're mentally calculating how much you can finally start living. Maybe it's time for that truck you've wanted, or that kitchen renovation the neighbor just finished. But right there, in that moment of confidence, is where the trap is set. Most people think wealth building is linear: save $1, get $1 closer. But $250,000 is a psychological tipping point that turns the rules of money upside down. It is the exact moment where you have just enough money to make mistakes that are expensive enough to ruin your future, but not enough money to recover from them quickly. My name is Aliana, and on this channel, we don't do hope. We do mathematics. Today, I'm going to show you why $250,000 is a dangerous illusion, a milestone that feels like the finish line but is actually the most perilous stretch of the race. We're going to look at the halfway point math, the overconfidence monster, and why the housing and car markets of 2026 are specifically designed to strip you of this wealth before it hits seven figures. To understand why $250,000 is an illusion, we have to talk about how wealth actually grows. Your brain is wired for linear growth, but wealth is exponential. Reaching your first $100,000 is the hardest thing you will ever do financially. If you're investing $100 a week at an 8% return, it takes you approximately 12 years to hit that first $100,000. During those 12 years, you are doing 62% of the heavy lifting with your own sweat and blood. Compound interest is still just warming up on the bench. But once you hit $100,000, the snowball picks up speed. It takes only 6 more years to double that to $200,000. Now, here is the number that ruins most people. It takes roughly 13.8 years of consistent investing to reach $250,000. But, and listen carefully, it takes that exact same 13.8 years to go from $250,000 to $1 million. In terms of time, $250,000 is the mathematical halfway point to becoming a millionaire. At $250,000, you have reached escape velocity. Your money is generating $20,000 a year in growth entirely on its own. That is $1,600 a month flowing into your account without you lifting a finger. But here is the trap. Because you've spent 14 years pushing that boulder up the mountain, you are exhausted. You see that $250,000 balance and your brain starts screaming for a reward. You think you've reached the peak, but you're actually just standing on a ledge halfway up. If you let go of the boulder now, it won't roll to the top, it will crush everything you built. The first reason people fail at $250,000 is the illusion of arrival. When you hit this number, you stop seeing money as a tool for the future and start seeing it as a reward for the past. You've been disciplined for a decade. You've driven the used Toyota. You've skipped the luxury vacations. And now, you finally feel rich. Your brain starts playing a cruel game called lifestyle inflation. You see that $5,000 gain in a single day, which happens often at $250,000, and you think, I deserve to celebrate. I can afford that $1,200 monthly truck payment now. I'm basically a quarter millionaire. But let's talk about the modern car payment. The average new car payment in America has crossed $700, and for trucks, it's routinely over $1,200 a month. If you're at the $250,000 milestone and you sign for that $1,200 payment, you are engaging in what I call wealth destruction with cup holders. At this stage, every $1 you take out of your investments is roughly $4 of future wealth lost to compound interest. That $1,200 car payment isn't just $1,200. Over the life of a 7-year loan, including insurance and maintenance, you will spend $130,000 on that truck. And at the end, that truck will be worth $15,000. If you had invested that $1,200 a month instead, it would have grown to over $600,000 by the time you retired. The illusion of arrival tells you that you can afford the payment. The brutal math tells you that the payment is stealing your millionaire status. Most people fail because they start acting rich before they are actually wealthy. The second reason people stall out is the overconfidence monster. This is a psychological phenomenon called the Dunning-Kruger effect. You've managed to save $250,000, You've weathered a few market dips. Suddenly, you think you're an investing genius. You start thinking that boring low-cost index funds are too slow. You start thinking you can pick individual stocks, trade options, or throw $50,000 into your buddy's restaurant or a new crypto play. This is the most expensive mistake you will ever make. When you had $5,000, a 10% mistake cost you $500. You could earn that back in a weekend. But at $250,000, a 10% mistake is $25,000. That is nearly half the annual take-home pay of the average American. The phrase "I can afford to lose this" is the most expensive sentence in the English language. At $250,000, you can afford to lose the cash, but you cannot afford the loss of momentum. One clever move that goes sideways can delete 5 years of compounding, 5 years of your life that you will never get back. At $250,000, your job isn't to be brilliant. It's to be boring. The strategy that got you to $250,000 is the exact same one that will get you to $1 million. Don't get creative now. We also have to talk about the world we live in right now. The math of 2026 is brutal, and $250,000 can tempt you to make a catastrophic housing mistake. The sources tell us that the median first-time homebuyer is now 40 years old. Why? Because the income required to buy a median $500,000 house is about $110,000 to $187,000, but the median household only makes around $84,000. There is a $22,000 structural gap between what the average family earns and what they need to qualify for the average house. When you hit $250,000, you are going to be tempted to bridge that gap by buying a house you can't actually afford. Let's look at a real-world scenario with the Johnsons. They pull in a combined $160,000 a year, solidly upper-middle class. They buy a $500,000 house. After taxes and a 10% down payment, their monthly housing cost, including property taxes, insurance, and the poverty tax of PMI, is roughly $4,367. That is 46% of their take-home pay going to housing alone. They are house poor in a $500,000 box. They can't afford to maintain the house, they can't afford to save for retirement, and every unexpected expense, like a water heater exploding, becomes a financial crisis. Real wealth is freedom, not equity you can't access. If the math doesn't work at the 28 to 30% threshold, it doesn't work. Renting and investing the difference is a completely legitimate strategy that no real estate agent will ever suggest because they don't earn a commission when you put money in an index fund. Then, there's the quietest killer of all, the comparison trap. When you have $10,000, you don't compare yourself to millionaires because the gap is too big. But at $250,000, you start hanging around people who are doing well. You go to a barbecue, and you hear someone talking about their $500,000 portfolio or their $2 million net worth. Suddenly, your $250,000 feels small. It triggers what I call acceleration anxiety. You start making desperate moves to catch up. You increase your risk tolerance. You might even consider leveraging your portfolio or taking out a home equity loan to dump into a sure thing because you feel behind. But listen to me, you are not racing against your neighbor. You are racing against your own impulses. The moment you start measuring your success against someone else's highlight reel is the moment you stop appreciating how far you've actually come. There will always be someone with more money. The truly wealthy know that $250,000 was built on discipline, and the journey to $1 million is built on patience. So, what is the solution? How do you survive the $250,000 illusion? Step 1, stay boring. Do not change your investment strategy. If low-cost index funds got you to $250,000, they will get you to $1 million. You don't need a wealth manager to take 1% of your hard-earned compounding. Step 2, automate everything. Your willpower is a muscle that gets tired. If you have to choose to invest every month, eventually you will choose a vacation or a new car instead. Set it so you never even see the money. Step 3, follow the 15-65-20 rule. Follow the formula: 15% for your future, 65% for your fundamental life, and 20% for guilt-free fun. If your housing or car doesn't fit in that 65%, you are living someone else's lifestyle. Step 4, understand walking away money. $250,000 isn't for buying things, it's for buying options. It's walking away money. It means you can say no to a toxic boss because your money is doing the heavy lifting. The $250,000 illusion is designed to make you feel like you've reached the finish line so that you'll stop running. Don't fall for it. You've reached the mathematical halfway point. The hardest part, the first $100,000, is behind you. Now, you just have to stay out of your own way. Your first $250,000 was a test of your discipline. The journey to the million is a test of your character. If this deep dive into the brutal math of wealth helped you, hit that like button and share this with someone who is currently tempted by a $1,200 car payment. My name is Aliana, and I'll see you in the next one. Start today, because 14 years from now, you'll either be thanking yourself or wondering what could have been.